If you've ever built a workflow in n8n, then you've probably used something like Google Sheets or Airtable at some point to either read, write, update, or delete data. One thing you might not realize is that every time your workflow needs that data, it's making a slow round trip across the internet just to fulfill that individual request through an HTTP request using API keys for access. And that's one of the many reasons why your automation might sometimes feel unreliable or slow. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through a brand new native feature from n8n called data tables that aims to fix this. It's basically an internal database in n8n that you can use to read, write, and store information at very fast speeds. If you watch till the end, you'll likely be able to skip the next Google Sheet or API call, and you'll decide which one is more suitable for you and your needs. So let's get right into it. So n8n has introduced a new data tables feature. So if you go onto your n8n, you can see your workflows, credentials, and executions, and you can click on data tables. So you have to update n8n to the latest version, which I already have. So currently it's in beta mode, but it doesn't even feel like a beta version right now because I've used this and I feel like it's quite reliable at this point, and I'm pretty happy with what I have. So here I have a test table that I created for the purpose of this video. So these are the default fields and columns when you create a data table on n8n. ID is 1, created at, and updated at. So let's just add another row and another row, and then let's add the column. So name. And then also you can choose the type here. So string, number, Boolean, and date time. So let's just add date or date time. And then let's add a number. So let's do quantity, for example. And then what else is here? And for Boolean, let's just put paid, whether they've paid or not. So yeah, we can insert a new data point. So John Park, date would be like October 1st. And then quantity, we would just put 2 here, and paid, let's just select this as yes. So as you can see here, it captured the exact time that this was created at and when it was updated. And then you can also see the date here, and I believe that you can also select the time as well. So anyways, I've created a row, and you can also filter your values. True, false is null. And you can choose the filter as well. And also you can organize by the created at time. Here I'm just manipulating it by created at. And you can also delete the column here. So I'll just like reset this. So I'll just delete all the rows, and then I'll just like delete all the columns as well. Let's just delete these just to reset it. And also one more thing, so ID, this is 1, 2, 3, 4 by default, so it just starts from 1 and it goes up by 1 every time you add a new row, so just keep that in mind. Anyways, let's just reset this and then go back to the n8n workflow. We are back here. I have in the Google Sheets some rows, so I'll go onto the Google Sheets here. And yeah, as you can see, I put some dummy data. So just like the date of sale, product code, product name, quantity. So the number of products sold and the price that it was sold for. This is just dummy data that I just created for the purpose of this video. So anyways, what we're going to try is we're going to get the rows in Google Sheets and we're going to add them to the data table. So we'll add them into the test data table. So let's just try this. Yep, as you can see here, it was successful, and it only took how many seconds? And it only took literally 23 milliseconds. So that is 5 columns. So it was very fast. It was instantaneous. So now let's go back onto the data table. So let's refresh the page. And as you can see here, so we refreshed the page. However, it only inserted like 17 rows because there were only 17 rows in Google Sheets and they didn't have the columns here. So something that you have to keep in mind is that the data table, it must have the matching columns as the Google Sheets if you're transferring data from Google Sheets to the data table. So it needs to have the date, the product code, product name, quantity, and the price as well. So just have to keep that in mind. That's why it only added 17 rows, but it didn't actually transfer any of the data over. So what we're going to do is we're going to add the columns again, and then we are going to try this whole thing again. And also one more thing, when you add a column, you cannot have a space in the name. So you have to put it in like this or something like an underscore. But anyways, this is just for you to notice. But anyways, I'll just add the rest of the columns. So I've added all the columns here. So product code, product name, quantity, price, and also just so you know, ID and created at and updated at, these are columns by default, so you cannot remove them. And anyways, I'll just like go back to n8n and I'll try this again. So execute workflow. And as you can see, it took a little bit of time to get that. So as you can see, it took a little bit of time to get the rows from Google Sheets, but inserting the rows into the n8n data table, it was instantaneous. So let's check out the data table. So now, as you can see, I have set up the table. So with the date, the product code, and product name, quantity, and the price. And just so you know, the ID and also the created at and updated at columns, they are by default, so you cannot remove them. But anyways, let's go back to the workflow and let's test it again. I'll click on execute workflow. As you just saw, Google Sheets, it took a little bit of time to retrieve the rows, but the n8n data table, it inserted the data rows immediately. So let's go check it out, and let's check this out here. So execution time, it took 66 milliseconds, so it was basically instantaneous. So anyways, we've added the rows here, so let's just refresh the data table. Okay, so as you can see, it did change the dates to fit this specific format. So this is ISO 8601 format. So initially it was just year, month, date, but it changed it to ISO 8601 format. So this is why it's like this. If you change this to like the string variable, then it's going to be just 2025 920. But anyways, you can see that it added the product code, the product name, the quantity, and the price. So let's quickly check out the execution time of each one. So as you can see here, the n8n data table only took 66 milliseconds to execute. And for getting the rows in the Google Sheets, let's check it. It took 1009 milliseconds. So that took 1 second basically. So this took 15 times longer basically. To further experiment with the speed between Google Sheets and the data table on n8n, let's just do a quick experiment here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to grab all the data from test 1, this sheet over here, and then I'm going to insert it into a new spreadsheet here, sheet 2 within test 1. So first I will insert all the rows into sheet 2 on Google Sheet, and then I will compare the execution speed. So anyways, let's just try this workflow. So that was done. And as you can see, the execution time, it took 2.7 seconds. So that did take a bit of time, as you just noticed. But anyways, let's check the results. And as you can see here, all the rows were copied over successfully. And now let's try it with the n8n data table, and let's compare the speed. So I will do the same thing. And as you can see, it was much faster. So the execution speed was 46 milliseconds. So it was significantly faster. And now let's check the data table. As you can see, so 34 rows, it was initially 17 rows, and you can see that it appended all the rows successfully, as you can see here. So yeah, you can see that n8n data table is much faster. Now, before we go on to the AI agent section of this video, I'll first clear this entire table. So I'll delete all the rows. So before we go on to the AI agent component of this, first I'll go over the node of the data table itself and what you can do. If you want to access data tables, just type in data and then click on data table. You can delete row, get row, and find rows based on a condition, find rows that don't exist. And you can also have 2 conditional nodes here, so determining if a row exists or not. And then you can also insert a row, you could also update one, and you can also upsert a row. And so what upsert row means is it can take 2 potential paths. So you could either update a row if it exists, and if it doesn't, then you insert a new row. So that's what upsert is, just for your interest. If you're absolutely 100% just going to insert a new row, or if you're going to update an existing row and you know that row exists in the table, then you would just use update or insert. But if there's a possibility of it not existing, then yeah, you would want to use upsert. Most people just go with either insert or update. So yeah, anyways, that's just what upsert is. So now I'll just go on to the AI agent component of this. So here on the AI agent, I gave it all the tools that it needs. So insert row, get row, delete row, if row exists, if row doesn't exist, which are the 2 conditional ones, and upsert a row and update a row. So I have loaded all the data in here again. So I have changed the date, so it's a text, so it's a string, and to this specific format. So if you want a date in a specific format rather than ISO format, then yeah, you would just put it as string. Anyways, I put year, month, day. Anyways, let's just go back to testing the AI agent. Let's start with a simple question. So what are the dates of sale? So as you can see, it retrieves all the dates where a sale was made. So all the way from September 20th to October 2nd. And now we'll ask, what's the most expensive product? Okay, the Zenith Ultra Portable Monitor with a price of $249. And the second one is photo edit, $199. So if we look here, Zenith, it's $249, and the second most expensive one is $199. So that's the photo edit pro license lifetime, and yes, it got it right. So let's ask, what products were sold on September 21st? Now it says September 21st, only one thing was sold, the Aether mechanical keyboard, and let's check that. And yes, that is correct. So as you can see here, Aether mechanical keyboard, $195. Yep. And then now let's ask another question. So a more complicated one. Across all the days, which product was sold in the highest quantity? The microfiber screen cleaner, 15 sold on September 20th and 20 sold on September 27th, so 35 units sold. So this is just a very simple basic AI agent for demonstration purposes. This is just a very simple AI agent for demonstration purposes. But anyways, let's continue. What was the total revenue for September 20th? So $457.47 from the Nova Noise and microfiber. So let me just check. Yep, these were the two things that were sold. So as you can see, it's doing a very good job at retrieving data. And now what we can do next is let's add a new sales figure for October 3rd. Let's see, Optimus Prime toy. Let's see, ABC123 code, and price is 299, and quantity sold was 2. So we upserted this row. So it could have done insert, but it did upsert. So let's refresh the page. And yeah, you can see here, Optimus Prime toy. So it added it twice for some reason. So I should have been more specific about when it was sold, and I should have told it to put it in this specific format. So that's just something to take note of. Be more specific about how you insert things. Overall, this data table, it works pretty smoothly, and I think it's a very good addition to n8n, especially been running into API limits with Google Sheets. And looking at my AI agent demo that I just demonstrated to you, I could have made it better. I could have prompted the AI agent better. I could have set up the tools much better. Overall, I think n8n data tables still have a place. So when would I use a data table? I would use a data table if it's strictly for internal use and you're not going to show it to anybody else if it's not front facing, because this data table is only going to be in n8n, so there's no other way to access it unless you send the data over to somewhere else with an API key and an HTTP request. So if it's only for use within n8n, I would use data tables. However, if you want to share it with other people, including other stakeholders or other members of your team, and if they don't have access to n8n, I would recommend sticking with Google Sheets or Airtable. Me personally, I share a lot of data with other external stakeholders, including partners and with other clients. So it's more convenient to share everything across with Google Sheets. So I think I'll stick to Google Sheets and Supabase for now. But overall, if you're doing experiments and if you're using data exclusively for internal use, then I do recommend n8n data tables. It's going to get better. This is just a beta version, like I said, as you saw, but I think it's definitely going to be improved. I think n8n has made significant improvements over the years, and I'm excited to see more changes that come to n8n. So that was it for this video. Now you should be able to decide whether you need n8n data tables or stick with Google Sheets, Airtable, or Supabase, and you now have a good idea of what n8n data tables are capable of. If you found this video helpful, please leave a like and subscribe. Join my free school community, the AI Avengers, in the link down below to get access to this template to play around with. And if you want a thriving community with weekly calls and a free Go High Level account, join the AI Avengers Lab, our premium community down below. If you need a comprehensive AI system built for your business, book a call with me down below. And if you want one-on-one consulting with me, fill out the form down below. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next one.